Long range is probably the most important play range in Warzone, given the open nature of the map, the large scale and environments to traverse and spot players from. Today, I want to take some time, round out 2021 with a discussion on what I'd suggest for your top 5 long range weapons, or what can challenge your long range. Now, we're not talking about snipers or anything like that for the extreme distances. For that, I'd probably still recommend the Modern Warfare Kar98K, given the flinch adjustments to other weapons in recent updates, but this, we're talking about your long range for traditional gunfights, rifles, LMGs, and things like that. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of these weapons? Anything you'd add to this list or maybe subtract? Anything you're looking to try out? And if you do, feel free to let me know how you do with them down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video though, do me a favor, drop a like on the video, and if you're new to the channel, do be sure to hit that subscribe button, join us on that road to 500,000 subscribers. If you're part of that nearly 70% of viewers who are not subscribed, you'd like to stay up to date with all things Warzone, Vanguard, and eventually what may very well turn out to be Modern Warfare 2 content later on in the year, I'd love to have you. That said, let's jump into it. Personally, the first weapon and build that I want to talk about is one that I didn't quite expect to enjoy as much as I actually do. This coming down to the Cooper Carbine. Now, the Cooper we've talked about here before, but it is a build that is kind of uncharacteristic for how we previously have built weapons in the past, prioritizing things like damage, control, or maybe mobility. Instead, as you'll see with this, as well as the Bren build, which we'll talk about here in just a second, we've adjusted some things so that we're really prioritizing the amount of rounds we can end up firing in a given time, as opposed to maybe say damage, sacrificing those individual damage values for getting more shots off and compounding, potentially even doing more damage at that point because of that fire rate. For this, I end up running the Mercury Silencer Cooper Custom 22-inch barrel, the 2.5 times optic. That really comes down to preference, the Cooper Custom padded stock for accuracy and recoil control during sustained fire, tight grip, fully loaded, the polymer grip, and the Carver 4 grip for all of your things like your control, so you do have that ability to control and maintain a laser pointer of a shot. But instead of running something like the 45 round mags or something like that that adds damage, instead we toss on the 60 round magazine, which ends up adding recoil control and accuracy, additional fire rate, your aim down sight speed so you have a little bit more snap to your weapon build, and additionally, of course, more ammo capacity, 60 rounds being in line with things like what we saw within Modern Warfare and Black Ops Cold War, so it may feel a little bit familiar with you. Now, that extra added damage, do you miss out on it? Sure, but is it something that you can absolutely make up as a result? Yes. Throw on incendiary rounds to this, and it's just something that becomes pesky over range and also allows you to still beam players while having that upped fire rate and also the ability to land more shots in a shorter period of time, adding potentially to that TTK. Now, is it something that may seem a bit unconventional? Sure, but check it out because I guarantee it'll do well for you. The next weapon I want to talk about is that of the Bren. Now, we've talked about the Bren in terms of the sheer damage power that it has, but as of recently, I've changed my loadout here to, again, kind of prioritize a little bit of that fire rate and also a little bit more in terms of control, because the Bren, being that it has so much power, it does have a lot of kick. So for this, I've changed a little bit, not a whole ton, but a little bit from what we've talked about beforehand. For this, I now run the MX Silencer, the Queen's 705mm Royal Barrel, so that you end up having that ability for your damage to not diminish over range, which is absolutely huge. Even if you're not using the BMG and damage altering rounds, it is still something that can pack a punch. Then I've actually changed recently to the 3 to 6 times optic, allowing me to see a little bit more at a distance if I need to, and also because I can beam players at a further distance, which is definitely nice. The Queen's Model 11 BH stock, tight grip, fully loaded, the polymer grip, the Carver 4 grip, lengthened as your ammo type, and then the other main difference here is the 6.5 Sakura 40 round magazine, which adds recoil control and accuracy since it is a smaller caliber of round, aim down sight speed, and a faster fire rate. Again, kind of prioritizing that ability to land more shots in a shorter period of time, as opposed to being more accurate with higher damage rounds. I'd advocate heavy for the BMG rounds on the Bren, still do on the bar, but it is something that these 40 round magazines for the Sakura, even though you're sacrificing a little bit in terms of that ammo capacity, you will see that you kill maybe even a little bit faster than with the BMG rounds, because it is that faster fire rate. It is so much easier to control in that recoil, and it's something you should definitely try out. The next weapon we talk about for your long range meta may be something that seems a bit unconventional, just because we see with every integration it's sort of heavily favoring the newer weapons in terms of how they perform, their attributes alongside them, and things like that. But for those that aren't playing Vanguard Royale, one thing that you may actually want to really consider is the XM4. The XM4 was kind of a silent killer last year with Black Ops Cold War's weapons. I mean, you had a very strong rifle lineup in Black Ops Cold War weaponry between the FARA 83, C58, EM2, the AK-47, the FFAR as close-range rifles, so you had a really good offering of rifles on deck, but the XM4 kind of went under the radar. However, after all these adjustments here since the integration, we saw a bunch of other weapons tuned. The XM4 is honestly a great choice when it comes to mobility and control for a weapon that can do well at a distance. Now, if you guys were here on the channel this past year, you may recognize this build. Normally, I'd run the Agency Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Axial Arms 3x Optic, Field Agent Grip, and the 45-round magazine. As of recently, just for that added little bit of reload quickness. You don't really lose out a whole ton by changing to the 60-round mag. I think it's just a few frames in terms of that reload, but for whatever reason, whether it be placebo or what, the 45-round has felt pretty solid to me as of late. So that's something that I've been running, and honestly, it's been a kind of refreshing break from all the Vanguard inundation here with so much happening in Warzone and Vanguard. It's nice to kind of take a break and use a weapon that may still feel like home, but is a little bit different because it might not be the main choice that a lot of people would think of. But definitely give the XM4 a go. I really think it has a place here in the long range meta. Next, we're going to come back to one of the old reliables here of this, that being the bar. Now, the bar we've talked about, I haven't really changed too much of my setup here, so we can kind of breeze past this one, that being the MX silencer, the 27-inch 2B barrel. There's always that sort of debate on the 30-inch or the 27-inch. Personally, I take the 27-inch so I don't lose out on that ADS speed and movement speed, but also gain the damage range on top of that. So you're going to have recoil control and accuracy with both of these, but I just feel the 27-inch offers a little bit more in terms of benefits that can really help you. I run the 2.5 times optic on it, the Chariot WR stock, hard scope as a perk for that extra added control, fully loaded, the polymer grip, and carbon foregrip for additional control as well, lengthened as an ammo type, and then the 30-round BMG magazine. You can go 40 absolutely, but you lose out a little bit more in that movement speed and ADS speed as opposed to the 30-round magazine. And finally, closing out your top 5 weapons of the long-range meta, I'd say, comes down to, again, a real old reliable, that being the STG-44. It's not my favorite, it bounces quite a bit, and it's something that I definitely think of the 5 rifles we're talking about today. I definitely think that it's number 5 of 5. But that might just be personal preference. For this, I end up running the MX silencer, the 760mm barrel, the 2.5 times optic, the 34S weighted stock, vital so you can end up increasing that torso damage and offering up a little bit more lethality, fully loaded, the polymer grip and carbon foregrip, the 60-round drum mag. You can use the 30 Russian short mags if you want, but the damage doesn't stack as properly as you may think, so therefore you don't gain as much as you end up losing per se when it comes to just having as much ammo on hand as possible, and then lengthened as that ammo type. And to me, that's the top 5 long-range weapons you should be using here. Of course, there are a bunch of different honorable mentions. I definitely say that with the right build and attachments, things like the Volkssturm Gewehr could work out well for you. The AK-47 from Cold War still will do well. The MG42 could work out pretty well. The DP27. But those all have their own sort of quirks that I don't think really put them necessarily above these ones here that we just mentioned. So that said, that's going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Do you guys like any of these builds in particular? Anything that you wouldn't necessarily add to this list? Anything that you think that you're going to try and maybe do well with? Feel free to let me know down below. But if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on the video. And of course, if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, whether that be tips and tricks, loadouts, updates and information, Vanguard, and again, in the near future, perhaps Modern Warfare 2 content coming very, very soon. If you guys would like to stay up to date with all of that and join the community, I'd love to have you. That said, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. Have a happy and healthy new year. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.